Hey guys, I'm just going to be trying something new with this video. I actually have a bunch of theories and stuff I want to talk about, and some personal points of interest, and I hope that's okay. If you want to see more of videos like this in the future, let me know in the comments. The reason is I actually haven't had a chance to edit any podcasts or do much recording, even though I have some recordings in the works. It's because I've been busy with my exams and the end of my semester. Sorry about that to everybody, but if you do like this video, let me know, and I would actually like to do more of these in the future, because this video was really fun to sort of think about and work on. So, in anticipation for the new Arks of Omen storyline, GW has been putting out these absolutely gorgeous trailers featuring the Emperor's Tarot, and a lot of us in the community are getting absolutely hyped for all the stuff that's going to be coming. Namely the titular Arks, Angron's return, and of course, Vashtor, the demon looking to become a new Chaos God. Now, all of that is super cool, and I have a video about Vashtor written, covering some of my theories and my hopes for him narratively speaking, but for now, I want to focus on those stunning tarot card trailers. For those who don't know, the Emperor's Tarot are a set of psychoactive wafers that are actually blessed with the holy water that forms in the micro-ecosystem inside the Imperial Palace. Because clouds do form inside the palace because it's so large, and when it rains down, that rain is collected and used for blessings. When using the Emperor's Tarot, you do need to have powerful psychers with you, or else they will just be inert. But if you do it properly, then it is one of the few ways that Imperials can sort of connect with the Emperor and hear his message. It's the way he can directly communicate with them in some way. It's used by a lot of Inquisitors, a lot of, I think, some members of the clergy, and leaders in some of the Astra Militarum regiments actually use them. I'm sorry if you guys can hear some noise outside, by the way. I live in an area of town that's right near a major road, so there's constantly the screeching of brakes. I live right next to a bus stop, so buses are constantly pulling up. And admittedly, a lot of crazy people do live in the area because there is a halfway house right near here. So sometimes I will have people running up and down the sidewalk outside my apartment, screaming. Which is never fun. But you know, the real Hive City experience. Now, we do have a few sources for what some of these cards mean, but some of these are older. I think a lot of these are over 11 years old. Namely, the card the God Emperor, when drawn from this deck, speaks of warp travel, discovery, and hope in sort of the cold depths of space. The Great Eye foretells of war against chaos, and the Despoiler is sort of the bane of life and the truest indicator of coming loss and unavoidable bloodshed for the Imperium of Man. It's like one of the worst cards you can draw. Now, despite the fact that we do have these definitions, I think it's fair to say we can disregard them in the context of these trailers. But yeah, getting right into it, there have so far been 6 cards released, and I wanted to see how they might sort of correlate to actual tarot cards. I tried equating the numbers of the trailers with the numbers on the actual tarot cards themselves, but that didn't work, because card number 1 is the Magician, card number 2 is the High Priestess, then the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, and then the Lovers, going from 1 through 6. And if you know anything about tarot cards, that really just doesn't seem to fit. So instead, I tried to sort of do my own interpretation. Now, card number 1 is the Galaxy, or De Galaxis Profundi, which means sort of the deep of the galaxy, or from the depths of the galaxy. In my mind, that correlates to the card The World, which always represents sort of the ending of something. The ending of a cycle of life, or sort of a pause before the next beginning cycle, which begins with the card The Fool. And I'll get into the Fool later, because I think that has a lot of weight here. It's an indicator of sort of major inexorable change, and represents a very large scope of things to come. The next card is the Despoiler, or De Heretica Ultima, meaning sort of the last heretic, or like the ultimate heretic. Again, that's not really proper Latin. It's like this sort of pseudo-Latin that they use, because technically it's not Latin, it's High Gothic, but you get the idea. Now, I initially thought this card was the Devil, because of the name the Despoiler, and the image of a serpent wrapped around a ruler's neck. But, upon further consideration, I think that the Despoiler in this context represents the card the Emperor. And yeah, I know that sounds odd considering we already have an Emperor, but bear with me here. What the Emperor card represents is plans coming to fruition. It's about stability and security in life brought on through careful planning, consideration, and dedication. It means you're on top of things, everything's going under your control, and you're achieving things through hard work, discipline, self-control. It means that sort of you're in charge of your life, and you are now setting up your own rules and boundaries. And I think that really does fit Abaddon in this context. He's been planning this for over 10,000 years. Everything's coming to a head. All of the pieces are falling into place. It really does fit, even if the name sounds inappropriate. And sort of a quick personal aside here, the Emperor is actually my favorite card in the entire Tarot deck. I always get really happy when it shows up in my readings because it has a lot of meaning to me personally. If you guys have a favorite tarot card, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about that. Card number 3 is the Hulk, or Gargantua Perditum. Which again is not proper Latin, but perditum does mean like lost, and Gargantua is supposed to mean gigantic, which means giant lost thing. As we know, that's what Space Hulks are. In my mind, this is indicative of the card the Tower, which is interpreted as a meaning of danger, crisis, destruction, and liberation in a way. It's associated with massive unforeseen change. That's why the art for the Tower card always depicts sort of the biblical Tower of Babel. It depicts a massive cataclysm that brings about a huge sort of change into the way everything's been going. And I think these Arks of Omen are going to bring about a massive change into the way things are done on the galaxy and the way things go. The next one is the Silver Key, or Clave Argentus, which is sort of a portmanteau of clave and argenti, meaning key and silver respectively, so, that's pretty on the nose there. I think this one means the Wheel of Fortune, and I like this one a lot, because what the Wheel of Fortune represents is the introduction of an element of change in someone's life, namely the life of the galaxy or Abaddon, or whichever way you want to interpret that. It represents a change in station, position, fortune, such as a rich person becoming poor or a poor person becoming rich. It is just a catalyst of change. And I think we can see this especially because in the art, it shows spinning gears inside the teeth of the key. Really cool bit of symbolism there. I really hope I'm on the money with that one, because that would be so cool. And it really does sort of fit with what we know about the Silver Key, because it is sort of a key that Abaddon's going to use to unlock some like ancient secret weapon or something to that effect. I watched a Valrek video where he talked about it. The next card is the Great Host, or De Infernum Legionis. Again, not proper Latin, but we can see it means the Infernal Legion, or the Legion from Hell, which in my mind represents the World Eaters. Once again, I initially thought this one was the Devil card. I had reconsidered my definition of the Despoiler to mean the Devil after this one came out. But again, I see I was wrong. I think this one is the Chariot, because the Chariot is about overcoming obstacles, not with sort of the proper planning that you get from the Emperor card, but with raw strength, willpower, and even aggression in pursuit of your goals. And the person riding the Chariot is the one being ridden to victory on the wave of this power. It's about just pushing forward through obstacles and achieving. And I think we can all agree that the person on top of the Chariot in this case is Angron, which leads us perfectly into card number 6, which came out yesterday, the Hound, or Abominus, meaning, something abominable or morally reprehensible. This one finally is the Devil. Finally got there. It represents being bound to the material world and physical pleasures. It's about fear, domination, bondage, being caged by overabundance of things. Now, the most important part of this definition, I think, is about how the Devil card represents something binding us to the material world, which in my mind represents Angron's return to the material, as well as physical desires and pleasures, that being his desire for slaughter, as well as other very negative connotations such as domination and bondage. In terms of the symbolism, the Great Host card shows a bunch of small wolf heads on spikes, which sort of means like an army of hellhounds, but the hound itself is a giant wolf's head, bleeding from the mouth into a chalice, which really sort of solidifies that cornate connection. And there's one more thing I want to talk about. I had mentioned the Fool and the Emperor earlier. Now, not all tarot cards are created equal. The single most powerful card in the entire tarot deck is card number 0, the Fool, because it represents a new beginning and the power that can be found in hope and naivety, and sort of stumbling forward without really a proper plan. In this context, I think the Emperor represents the Fool, because I firmly believe that he is on track to become a god. There will be a new beginning for him and the Imperium when he properly ascends. I think all the evidence is there. It's been hinted at a lot, and I do believe that's the direction they're headed. The Emperor is going to have a new beginning, not as a mortal man, but as a fully fledged god in the immaterial. Something that he is not at all prepared for. There is actually another card that sort of fits with the Emperor, and that being the Hanged Man, which represents martyrdom, self-sacrifice, and being at peace with that sort of ending. And I think you guys can see where I'm coming from when I think that, but again, it just doesn't really fit as much as the Fool. Now, one thing I do want to clarify is I'm not an expert in tarot cards in any way. It's something I just sort of mess around with for fun. It's not something I really believe in. But it was fun to make this video, and I felt like I did have some insight to give. I hope you guys can agree, but do keep in mind I had to reinterpret my definition essentially every single time a new trailer came out and a new card was revealed. I had actually finished writing this video, but I held off on making it to see if they would release another trailer, and they did just yesterday, which is why I'm recording this now. I'm actually technically doing a final exam right now, but I really wanted to put this one out there for you guys. Let me know what you think, and if you'd like to hear more of these from me. Thank you. I'll see you all in the next video.